Metaverse and gaming, of course, are all the rage, and today we're going to break down 3 tokens that do reside in my DGen 1 portfolio. Take a look at how they're doing and also understand a little bit about how this might look in a forecast on some of these tokens. So that's what we'll dive in today. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. Looking at gaming and Metaverse has been kind of the new passion of mine as we get into a ton of new analysis. We've got some interesting stuff coming your way. We're going to do another video this week that's going to drop the portfolio that I've worked on for about the last 2 weeks, building that and getting that. Many of those we've talked about actually on videos before now, but actually now we're going to go in and talk a little bit more about the portfolio itself, how it's performing, what tokens have been doing well, what tokens have not. And again, just remember, this is a market mover. Market movers, very simple. We're going to put together data that we collect on an ongoing basis, part of our proprietary data, basically our CPI, which is how we track sentiment, and also amplification. This is not investment advice. This is something, of course, we hope that you can take and look at other projects like these, or maybe these projects if they're right for you, and do your research and make some decision on how you want to go to proceed. If anything, maybe you're just looking at it from a gaming aspect, or maybe from just understanding the metaverse aspect of all this. So good stuff coming. I want to jump over to the first project, and that is a game called Eye Galaxy. Eye Galaxy is an interesting project in the sense that, one, their graphics are absolutely amazing, and I'll show you some of that here in a second. We'll get into a chart for each one of these as well, but I just want to show you what's happening over on market cap quickly of where this one is currently rolling. You can kind of see the movement here. Obviously, it had its big pump right here at the end of October, which is where a lot of these projects pumped on the release of Facebook's, hence aka Meta, and all of their update. Most of the Meta tokens, Metaverse tokens that are out there really started moving right before that date, and then right after that date we started to see a lot of these projects really moving. And if you watched our videos leading up to that, we started to show a lot of these projects in the videos that we were doing a lot of research on. That was really kind of the point in which you want to pick up projects if you're looking at what we're doing, if you're following kind of our lead. Typically we'll have research done maybe a few days in advance of dropping a video, depending on how much research we're digging into. And then we'll pull the last minute data on sentiment and on amplification so that we can see if this is going to forecast out and see any growth. And usually that's done in the video. So make sure and tune into the video, subscribe to the channel, because that's when you're going to get all these kind of cool stuff. But anyway, back to BYD, which I love when you look at Eye Galaxy. Just, of course, a couple of little pumps here they had early or late October right there. Then it did fall off right here in early November right there, where it did pump down. I think a lot of people looked at this as an exit when they were looking to maybe move on. It had another little pump, and then right now where we see Eye Galaxy going is going to be interesting. And we'll look at the chart here in a second and kind of run down all of these. What I want to do is go through each one of the 3 to kind of give you an idea of what the project looks like, and just in general, you know, where it's going. But of course, this one right here is holding it at market cap, no data on this one, but it is holding at 339 fully diluted on Eye Galaxy. I need to pull that over from trading volume, also pretty high right now, down a little bit, obviously, with this last little move. If you go to their website, this, of course, is their graphics, kind of their roadmap. I always look at where the game is going and how far they're into the overall project itself. So the game concept Q2 was developed, seed investments. We're moving on. So right now, ETH blockchain integration and the CEX listings, cross-chain wallet for visualization of the game NFTs, which is Q1 22. So the likelihood is this is more like mid-year in terms of a potential for this to really start to move. But I do think this is one that is a keeper. You can kind of see what they did here with their tokenomics. Seed sale was just a very small percentage. Team, 15%, a little higher than what I like. But it's good that they're transparent on all this, because I think this is a big aspect of any kind of these kind of projects, is really understanding what's behind the tokenomics for this. Advisors, but the distributed as planet resources to be minted, I think that's the key number, 32%, which is right there. That's going to be the juice for where this game is going. And I think that's going to be a big factor with how and whether or not we'll see continued growth on this. But listen, there's going to be a lot of games that are playing I think, in this metaverse world over the next 6 months to a year, where we're going to see so much action happen. Even though we are in the middle of a bull run right now with the traditional blue chip tokens, right now is the time you need to be doing these research projects, these late nights, really diving into a lot of both gaming and also where the metaverse tokens and also some of the DeFi projects as well that are really going in this direction, because there's a lot in play, and if you research them when they start to get hot, it's just you're just going to be too late on many of these. So now is the time to really start diving into. Now, Black Eye Galaxy, I'll just be honest with you, it's had a massive pump, but it has held very solidly over a period of time here now in the last few, actually the past week or so. So I feel like this one is going to continue to get some juice because of what we've seen, and we'll talk to the sentiment here quickly. I'm going to run down the rest of them fairly quick. SuperFarm, another one that is really doing well in my portfolio. It's not as high of a performer as Black Eye Galaxy, but it is a project that I'm really interested in, and I like where the direction is going. You can kind of see the year to date. Obviously, it had its initial token pump that many people see. This is the typical footprint of how a project like this gets to life, which is usually token releases. You get your big pump on either people exiting and liquidating their position, or the market just starts to frenzy out, and then you get the correction, which is what we saw. And this was back here, of course, in March. And of course, this got a little bit of the damaging impact of what was happening in the crypto space as a whole when May started really getting that fall off. And then, of course, what this essentially did was allow a lot of opportunity for people to jump in. And of course, SuperFarm has started to move its way out. So I think there's a lot of life left in SuperFarm and where it's going. NFTs thrive here, kind of an ecosystem. It is going to be a building platform for both games, I believe, and creators in the NFT space. Lots of aspects. They also claim some growth around what's going to happen in the DeFi space. And if you look at some of their Superstarter project, which I think is kind of interesting, they are going to be, I think this is where we'll start to see the evolution of where a lot of this will grow, where SuperFarm is going. And listen, the key with any of these projects is, and these, remember, these are on my DGen list and my DGen portfolio, not necessarily projects for the faint of heart. You have to be willing to go to zero. It is a potential that a lot of these projects, they're just like many startups. They get out of the gate, they get an MVP going, and either they run out of money, their developers leave, they get, maybe they get purchased and the game gets shut down because it's acquired and then sucked into a much bigger organization. All those kind of things can happen, just like in a startup. So you just have to be aware of that. But this is another one that's doing fairly well in my overall portfolio for my DGen portfolio. And these are 3 tokens that are in the portfolio. Let's go to the next one, which is MetaWars. This is a project that we've done a lot of research internally. It has had a little bit of a slide here, and depending on where you purchase this, and if you bought I got this back in the end of October. Actually, it was, let's take a look here at right here on the 27th or so. So I got it early. I did not take advantage of this big spike right here on where the project was going. And then, of course, it started to slide a little bit. But it is one of those, again, that depending on whether or not you like games and you are really into this, when you look at where MetaWars is really flying, let me just kind of show you their website. Great graphics. They really are building kind of this whole element of what I think many of these projects are going after, which is kind of re-imaging the whole idea of gaming. And I think that's going to be a factor, because we talked about this with a lot of people, including some of the guys over at Polygon Studios, of who were going to be the winners of this era of game play and also game creation. Some people think it's going to be the old gaming companies that are going to make the leap to Metaverse and also blockchain. Some people think it's going to be the new game companies like the Axie teams and so on, whether Star Mavis. But at Sky Mavis, when you look at that, I don't know. I'm feeling like we're going to see a little bit of a balance between the two sectors right now, whether it's Web 2.0 and where existing gaming is, and companies and objects and projects like what we're seeing over here at MetaWars. So anyway, this is another one you can get over on PancakeSwap, which is where I picked it up. And it's one of those great projects that I think you have to set on. The life of a potential token like this is going to be all built on when game is released, and you've got to follow those kind of things. So if you are going to get into gaming and metaverse projects, timing is everything, because of the fact that many of these projects, initially they'll get pumped, obviously when they release, they get pumped based on some sort of graphics or some sort of announcement. They move with the news, so you've got to be watching those in that format. Let's jump over to the charts real quickly. And just to show Black Eye Galaxy kind of the movement here, we've been tracking where this might be going. Sentiment back here in November, early November, holding at 68.51, amplification 67.33. Had a nice little slide, but it was a little sideways for Black Eye Galaxy. And then sentiment pulled right here. This was done in November 6th. This is really where the token started getting action, and that went to 73.51. Amplification also climbed but did not flip. That's 72.94, and we've had a nice little move and run up right here. Let me see what that run up was, if we can get to it right there. Looks like at, yeah, right at 137%. Nice little gain right there. And then right now we pulled another dip right here on sentiment, and this is where it's going to get, even though it's still very tight, I just feel like this game is probably, or this project is probably going to go a little bit sideways for a little bit based on the data we're seeing, and then potentially see another little breakout here. So we could see it start to inch up and maybe even 2x sometime towards, mid-November to late November, depending on some of the action that we start to see in Black Eye Galaxy. Again, this could also be one of those projects that starts to get into a little bit of that dip, which I'm a little concerned with right here, this area, and also right here, obviously. So these are the ones that I'm watching. This one right here, if you're not already in it, I would pause and wait for an opportunity, because this one is definitely had a lot of growth in the last few weeks, but it is one of those projects that helps you identify the characteristics, the learnings that you can get by looking at what Black Eye Galaxy has done and what they're doing, is understanding how to identify these projects before that pump occurs. So getting into these tokens and understanding, one, what are they doing? What kind of gameplay do people like? What kind of project roadmap? Do they align well with other project roadmaps, or are they taking too long? Those are the kind of things you want to identify. Let's go over SuperFarm. Same kind of thing with SuperFarm if you have not watched what them, but they're a little bit undersold, I think, right now in terms of where this particular token could go. Their amplification flipped right here on November 10th, 77.02 to a 78. This was a nice little flip, and they're essentially experiencing that growth right now. And I say they, meaning the token is experiencing that growth right now. It again also does have a little bit of a trough here for a potential exit. So I'm looking at somewhere in the 12th through what looks to be right here around the 15th of November. So we might see a little bit of a slide off here tomorrow, and then maybe a little bit of a move upwards on SuperFarm as things going. Sentiment though has been pretty consistent. You had a 76 here back on November 6th, and a 77 right here on what was November 10th. So just 4 days later, even though there was a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but a little bit of volatility here in terms of where SuperFarm kind of came from. So keep an eye on this one. This is one that I like, and I do think it's got some potential for some more big gains. So it's in my portfolio. It's definitely going to stay there, and I like what they're doing over there on that project. The other one, of course, as we mentioned, was MetaWars. This one, of course, had sentiment pulled back here on the 1st of November, 72. A little bit on the amp, a little under, but sentiment is holding right here with positive sentiment, which is kind of interesting to me when you see sentiment going up while you're seeing a little bit of a decline, and now what is somewhat of a flat line for MetaWars. So Is this one of those times where this is an accumulation opportunity? If you're looking into gaming tokens and you're thinking, I need to be looking at games, first thing you want to do, obviously, if you're not into gamers, if you are a gamer, you probably already know, you understand the graphics, the design behind these kind of projects. But I look at it from a little different standpoint. What I'll look at is the roadmap, the team, and the funding, usually getting behind these projects. So trace where the money is going, look at the teams behind it, and also take a look at that roadmap and see if it makes sense in comparison to other tokens or other projects. Not that everybody's going to be the same, but there has to be some sort of similarity, because there is an urgency right now for the metaverse and gaming projects to be launching because of Axie's situation, where they're really kind of separating from the market and becoming just a massive blow off top type alpha in the room. So I think a lot of projects are trying, not to try to match it, but they're definitely understanding that there is a window of opportunity here in terms of growth, and there's definitely a first mover position that you have to be looking at. So these are the three that I would take a look at, in the essence of Black Eye Galaxy, probably a little too late, but it is one you should keep an eye on, because there may be some opportunities down the road for a jump in. SuperFarm, I feel like, is in that right spot that is a potential acquisition. And then MetaWars might be a great opportunity for accumulation. Maybe some acquisition here, and watching this one. And again, all of this has to apply to whether or not you think gaming and NFT and metaverse is for you, because sometimes these degen projects are not for everybody. Definitely not financial advice. I'm just showing you guys a little bit about where I'm going with some of this. I'm a techie, I'm a geek. I like this kind of thing and I watch it very closely, but for some people this just may be absolutely too much to really kind of look at. And that's where the rest of the altcoins and the blue chip projects come into play, because in crypto, there's a little bit for everybody. Whether you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you're an ETH lover, or you are someone that's really going after the high cap altcoins that are moving dramatically right now and having some excellent movement. We just did a video on 3 big high caps on altcoins that you could look at, and that's of course Phantom, AVAX, and who else was the other one? Oh, Luna. Yeah. So you got to check into those. Make sure and check that video out, because I think you'll like what you're seeing there, and all that's tracking down towards ETH gas fees, which is another scenario that comes into this decision-making process. Make sure, if you're listening over on the podcast, the number one way to get involved here on the show is you got to jump over to YouTube, get in so you can understand and see a lot of these analysis that we'll do. And of course, if you're not in the Diamond Circle, that's the number one thing you need to do to get involved. We are really trying to ramp it up. I know, guys, just be patient, but it's going to be worth the wait. We've got a lot happening in there other than just giving away, tokens and digital assets, which is what we've been doing. We're actually going to start dropping some really cool analysis for you and giving you guys more of that early kind of, basically, you're in the circle now. So you're getting essentially the research that we're doing almost as fast as we're doing it. Now, granted, we won't have every project we're looking at in there, but we're definitely going to start dropping some in there that I think you guys are going to like. So make sure and join. It's free. It's easy for you guys to get to. So just join the link below. If you want to reach out to us or have a show idea, just hit us in the link below, or excuse me, in the comments below, or hit me up on Twitter. It's just @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.